Good morning, everyone. Welcome to what's it, Thursday? Thursday. Show number 19. This is Greg Mester from 5amMesterScrum. Hope everybody's having a good morning and they had a good day yesterday and things go well. Good morning. So we're here. Talk about a couple Scrum items and some ideas. I'm just going to talk about two topics today and get your thoughts on that and keep on moving. And if you like us, please subscribe and share with your friends. We're almost to the magic number of 100, so I hope we'll get there soon. All right, so in Scrum, I say you get your daily Scrum, right? So I have a thing called the three-eyed monster that you should look out for when you're doing daily Scrum calls or when you're meeting your Scrum. And the three-eyed monster is, and you'll hear this all across teams that are immature, which is people get in the habit. I have my tasks. I'm done with my tasks. I can't do this task. And I call it a three-eyed monster. Just because it's one of those questions where it's all about me. And it's very waterfall-esque or stovepipe-esque, where I did my work. I got my stuff done. I have what I need to do. And it's not a very team-centric approach. So you just have to keep an eye on those uses of the word I and how the individuals are working. And then the hard part for being a Scrum Master is that you have to find a way to work with that person to get them to think differently. It's not about I have done my work. Maybe you can say, maybe it's more about, okay, I did my task. Now I'm ready to help somebody else with their tasks. Or they need to ask that follow-up question. So you need to get them thinking like, okay, yeah, you did your tasks, but how can I help somebody else complete theirs to get the overall sprint goal completed? So anyway, this is what I call the three-eyed monster. It's just something I tell people. Like if you're teaching a class and you want to tell them about Scrum, just say, hey, just keep an eye out on these three-eyed monsters in Scrum. I have my tasks. I've done my task. I can't do this task. Whereas you're teaching people or bringing them on board for Scrum, just kind of remind them not to have or teach them a way of not saying that. So give them alternatives, like instead of I have my tasks, it's like I want to make do I have all my tasks? Do I all my coworkers have their tasks for what they need for daily Scrum or for the sprint planning session, that they have everything planned out? And I'm done my task, instead of having an attitude like, well, I'm done and they're not done and I'm done. I got all my stuff done. You should be asking, how can I pair programmers? Anybody stuck? Before you take on a new task and stuff like that. So you got to give them suggestions besides that and set them up. That probably wasn't a very good explanation. I probably should come up with a better one than that, and I will. Actually, we'll probably do a session on the three-eyed monster again later on. So the other topic I want to talk about is Scrum-a-fall. It's a term I kind of came up with that I kind of term as what people do from waterfall environment to Scrum. And Scrum-a-fall, there's a couple variations of it. So there's within the Scrum, the sprint, right? And then there's outside the sprint. Okay, so there's multiple sprints. So the first kind of Scrum-a-fall is in the sprint, where teams take the waterfall approach. We do requirements determination, develop and test in the sprint. So someone's writing the requirement, then they're developing the requirement, and then they're testing the requirement. And neither one of them start at the same time, and they have to wait for each other to get done. So you have to wait for the developer to get all their work done before you can test it. You have to keep an eye out for that. A lot of teams do that. When they do, you have to start breaking the task down in smaller bites. Or you can suggest doing some pair programming. There's a lot of things like 3amigos, which we can talk about a session how that would work. We're all three people writing requirements and fine-tuning the test data, developing it and testing all happen in parallel. For example, testers should be developing test scripts at step, as soon as the requirements left out. So whatever the priority is on the backlog, right? The very first story, everybody knows what the requirements are. Developers start developing developing code, and testers are developing test cases right off the spot. What would be really good is if all three people, the person who wrote the requirement, the developer, and the tester, working together, and they make it in smaller pieces. But you just have to watch out that people aren't developing code for an entire week and then drop it in the test bucket, because that's just Scrum-a-fall. And you just have to watch the flows on that. So that's internal sprint. Now I want to talk about a longer sprint. Scrum-a-fall from team to team, from sprint to sprint. So I've seen it where organizations have developed a stovepipe-esque Scrum world, right? So they are Scrum, each little group Scrum, but each little group is actually a stovepipe. And you have to depend on the other groups to get the overall work done, rather than having somebody from each one of these groups in a team so that the team can get the work done. You have to go out to a different area, different functional area, or different system area to get code done. So what happens, that creates a giant waterfall effect, where you have one group writes this initial code, and they post it in the code, and then they let this other group know, okay, my code's done. I need you to code this connection for my code to fully work. And then they code their connection, right? And then that connection group comes back to the original group and say, okay, we did our connection. Now you can finish your last part to finish the feature or epic. And what that happens is it just gets longer and longer and longer. Think of it as, so now they would say, well, I can't, what you hear is that the teams will say, I need my stuff done, or we got a plan for your work. Like, this team up here does the work and they're ready to do something, right? But the other team that's going to accept their work says, well, it's not my backlog. You have to wait 2 weeks before we start, or you have to wait a week, and then we'll start it, and then we'll start it 2 weeks later, and it goes over more to the right. So you get this massive waterfall effect, right? And then that's what you have. When you start hearing that, it's not part of my backlog, or it has to get in our backlog for our next sprint, and when our next sprint ends, we'll give you the results. So that's Scrum-a-fall from a team-to-team perspective. The problem with that, think of a project. You might say a project takes a month to do. Let's say we got something going to take a month. However, in order for that to happen, you need 2 or 3 groups to finish features that are connected to each other or dependent upon each other in order to get done. So that month-long project with the 2-week sprint, now let's say if we had 3 teams, probably will take 2 months to get finished. So something that has a month worth of work is now taking 2 months to do it. And the reason why, the first group does their work, hand off to the second group, and so that's 2 weeks. Second group does theirs 2 weeks. Third group does theirs, it's another 2 weeks. And then in the end, the last group goes back and tests it all together, right? Makes sure it all works. So then you have 2 months, but however, you estimated a month's worth of work. And this is why a lot of organizations can never deliver their software code in an agile fashion. and they're late and they're behind schedule because people will say, hey, it takes a month, and then it really takes them 2 months to deliver because of the fact that we have to wait for these other teams to finish their jobs. You have to be careful of that, because think about it this way. And I call it XP Scrum or Extreme Scrum, something like that, where if I grab somebody I had the 3 groups, right? So I have someone from each of the 3 groups in one team. If I have that, right, this is how Scrum is really supposed to work. So they all have techniques, and then they do the T shape. They have different skill sets. If I'm within a sprint, the first person finishes their stuff in a day, the next person does their stuff in a day, and the third person does their stuff in a day, right? So it only takes 3 days to do the work first. Hey, it takes me a day to do my story and my sprint. Then 2 weeks later, I got my day stuff. So that's 2 weeks for 2 days worth of work. And the third week, right? Oh, I got my stuff done. So the 3 days now takes 3 weeks or 3 sprints, really 3 sprints, right? So that's a lot. And then you test it at the end to make sure it's all working together, right? So it's another 2 weeks. So there you go. It's 2 months. Takes 2 months to do 3 or 4 days worth of work, right? So it's 4 days worth of work. It takes 2 months to do the work in the Scrum-a-fall model, because the person does a day, a day, a day, a day, because you never get everything lined up in their sprint planning. It just never it should work, but they don't plan very well with that. So if they were all part of a team where you typically use the software, so you just basically it's 3 days, or 4 days, because you could do testing or whatever. So day 1 code, day 2 code, day 3 code, and then testing it, and it's all done in 4 days. So you get something done less than a week, which you forecast a month, right? So it's done in a week, first 2 months in a Scrum-a-fall model. So I just want to leave that with you, just to watch out for the Scrum-a-fall model and make sure everything's okay. Anyway, that's what I got for today. It's been about 12 and a half minutes since we started. Please like and subscribe. Again, like I said, we're almost there to the magic number of 100 as a little goal for ourselves. And I hope you have a good day and enjoy these videos. I got some great comments on LinkedIn. I do appreciate all of them. Someone actually shared my stuff, which is awesome. So if you can share it, even better. Expand the world and give me ideas and things you want to talk about. And I hope everybody has a great day. Happy scrumming, and enjoy your afternoon. We're almost done for the week. We'll do some fun stuff later. So, okay, take care. Bye. Oh, by the way, I think YouTube changed their look at last night, because now Endstream is someplace different. So there we go. It's changing every day. And